right, whenever you're ready.
Okay, welcome to Coffee with the Curator. I'm John Cino, your host, and we're brought to you by the Patchogue Arts Council and Patchogue Medford Library. So happy to be with you today, and today I'm really excited to introduce you to Mahnoor Khan. She'll be telling you a little bit about uh, her beginnings first. So Mahnoor, why don't you say hello?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. I hope you're safe wherever you are. Um, I'm a photographer, fine art photographer. I'm basically from Pakistan. I was born and raised. Um, I was born and raised in. Not okay. I was born and raised in Pakistan. I thought to put up some photos in here because I thought maybe you've not seen it before. It's a beautiful place where we get to see all different weathers. Um, and I've grown up in a military family, which allowed me to visit almost all cities of Pakistan. And I think I've lived across all of them for like 2 or 3 years. And it's been a great experience. I've been able to learn so much from the culture that we have. And then I started doing a lot of interest in art and from the beginning. And then I had my mom, who was also bachelor's of arts, and she really pushed me to, uh, you know, do what I love and be part of it. And here I am, uh, as a photographer um, in US, and the journey has been great.
So, what you began your adult life and your career in art in while you were still in Pakistan, correct? How long have you been here?
It's been 3 years. I've been in US. I came here for my master's.
So you were fully grown already by the
Yeah,
time you got, and you had lots of experiences before you got here. Right.
right,
Okay. So then tell us what you were doing, how you came into art, or you did say that it was your mom who was
right,
already involved in the arts. And so what did you do when you started becoming an artist in Pakistan?
right. When I was in Pakistan, I was doing my bachelor's in media science, and I was doing a lot of graphic design work. I was doing bachelor's in media sciences, which was focused on advertising and marketing. And I did a lot of logo design, branding, basically a marketeer and a strategist. And this is all of the work that I designed and photographed as well. Um, some of that more. It was like a Patel Academy project that I worked on. I was also part of the TVCs that, and this was one of my thesis projects at that time. And if you wanted me to play it, I could hit the play
So what is
button.
the TVC? What is that? What does that mean?
It's a TV commercial.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna get a commercial now. Okay.
If you, yeah, it's
Show
time for
us.
commercial break.
Yeah, we need one, right? Go ahead, show us your commercial work. Yes.
Sure. What's the difference between great legend?
We're not getting the sound.
But legends are just stronger.
So Manor, sometimes when you're doing this, you have to turn the sound way up on your videos on your computer to get even to get them to play for people to hear them.
Can you hear it now? Let me try one more time.
Sounds better.
What's the difference between great and legend?
No, it's fading out again.
Legends aren't just stronger.
We'll just let this play through and then without the sound then.
To respond to the tiniest details, the drop of rain, the wind. Most people think legends are just stories. No, legends are people.
So, do you have any connection to football, or did you do this purely hypothetically? You seem to have an insight into it.
Well, interestingly, I'm not a sports person at all. I don't watch sports. I don't like sports,
Well,
but
that's
my
impressive. That's impressive that you could project that way. Yeah.
yeah. So my thesis advisor at that time, I brought him so many ideas that I wanted to work on, and he said, I know that you like to challenge yourself, so why don't you challenge yourself with doing something that you don't like and delve into it? So I did a lot of research, which I love, and created this body of work. And my brother was my both brothers are like futsal fans and soccer players,
Hmm.
so
Okay,
that's
so
really
so you were able to empathize your way into a different field. That's exciting. You know, that takes a special talent to be able to be sympathetic to something that you're not. You know, and yeah, so that's impressive. Now, after doing this, I, the first thing I saw of yours was a video that was much different in content, right?
right.
Would you like to tell us about this video? It's really it's worth the watch. So we're going to hopefully hear the sound as well as see it now.
Sure. Um, so after that, we were also working on some short films. It was all like collective project done with a lot of different students, and we came together to, express ourselves through the medium of film. And we shot this short film called Mufta, which really means free. And there's really a message behind
Excuse me,
it.
what does it mean?
It means free,
Free.
right?
Okay.
Um, and it's about how everything that you do, there's some repercussions on that. Anything that you do in life, there are consequences on it. So basically, it's based on that. It's a really simple short film. It's going to be, I guess, 6 minutes long. If you are going to bear with me, I'm gonna hit the play button, and hopefully you can hear it now.
Should we be hearing now?
Yeah.
We're not getting any sound.
It's just a background score. Do you hear it?
Do you have a place where you can change where the sound is coming from?
Um, it's on the floor. know why it's paused. Do you want to play it through your screen?
I don't think it would be any better at this point. Yeah.
Should we
So
just?
we're halfway through already. Why don't we just watch, quiet, and you could narrate if you want.
Sure. There are also subtitles to it because of the bilingual.
आज फिर दूध का एक खाना स्टार्ट हुआ है रामजादो मैंने क्या किया है मेरा नमक खा जाओ मुझे क्यों लगाते हो जमशेद इस सबकी चेकिंग करो पता नहीं मरूद क्या क्या छुपा के लेके जा रहे थे भाईजान चेकिंग हो जाए उसके बाद एक हफ्ते से पहले मैं खत्म होने को पता नहीं है तो मेरे पास तो वक्त ही नहीं होता मुझे कहीं बाहर ले जाया कर अम्मा अब जानते हो मेरी पढ़ाई कैसी पता है कि आप घर का अच्छा रखते हो सभी कुछ आप और जानता हूँ अरे नहीं बेटा मेरी फिक्र ना मैं तो वैसे भी इस बार मेरी खाला के साथ साथ पे लगी हूँ माशाल्लाह मेरा खाना बड़ा बहुत फिक्र करते हैं
No. You want to wait for the, credits to roll up, or?
And maybe we should go on now. Okay, so you wanted to explain the narrative a little bit? There was this grocery scene that was going on, and he was apparently delivering.
Right. So basically, it's about a mother and a son doing grocery shopping, and then the cashier didn't see it, and he charges up for only one of the milk cartons, and he takes two of them, and doesn't tell them that he's bought it. And then his mom appreciates him in the car that, oh, you take care of me so much, and appreciates whatever he does for her. And then it's a really small act, but then he meets an accident while he's going back home. And that's why there's this hospital scene. He's dealing with the consequences because he's cheating on, smaller things in life. And then in the last scene, you see this kid walking away with a carton of milk, drinking it and throwing it in the bin. So it's a cycle of repetition that's going on. There's people doing these simple, and which people think small acts that have great big impacts, and they don't think about it. And that's about it. We just wanted to talk about a powerful message with a simple storyline, and we tried to do that. And I think this movie was, and I worked on a lot of different short films at that time. I was working on 3 and 4 different short films and doing different tasks. Sometimes I was a digital compositor, sometimes I was a production designer. And it really helped me understand the beauty of expressing yourself, or the idea that you want to express. And I couldn't do that when I was part of the graphic design field, because I either had to listen to the agency or the client. There was, and I was losing my voice around that time. So I wanted to do something that really expressed me. And I was done with my bachelor's, so I decided to move to US at that time to pursue my graduate study.
So that brings you to coming to New York. Is that where you came to first when you decided to go to graduate school?
I actually am a transfer student, so I initially came to Virginia, and I started studying there arts management, but it was super expensive, honestly, and I had to transfer myself to LIU, and I just love being part of the LIU MFA community, because of all the people that I've met over time and all the connections that I've made. And even you, John Cino, I've met through
Yes.
the first semester of LIU. And it's come a long way, as you can see. I have a lot of my mentors in this video right now as well. So I feel like whatever I am today is because of all of you being, my support system throughout.
Well, that's a testament to you that all these people who have worked with you want to come back and share what you're doing now. So you talked about coming to LIU eventually, and you started working in the MFA program, and one of the projects that you felt really caught you was the World of Duality, right? So would you like to speak and show us some of these pieces?
Sure. I worked on this body of work called the World of Duality, and it's a series of photographs that's a snippet for, a love for my trees and its branches and leaves. I feel like there's some raw honesty in their bare bones that is hard to resist, and it allows me to lose myself in the woods. I feel like there's a lot of strength that these trees have, and they've gone through a lot of, different seasons. They're stripping off of all the artificialities, and I can really feel the bone structure, the loneliness, the dead feeling in the landscape.
So you want to tell us something about the technique you use to make these photographs? Because I bet you people who don't know are curious.
Sure. I use the intentional camera movement technique. It's when you use a camera as a tool to make different movements that create this blur motion. And I really wanted that fleeting moment effect in my photos, because that's how it felt to me. And even in these moments, these trees have stayed, strong and dealt with life. And that's how I felt. And these trees really hold a lot of importance to me, because this was one of my first solo shows, and also the photographs from this show were also selected in Spain exhibition, and my mentor Alison Raprano was also part of the same category as me, and so it was great. I was able to be part of it, and be an honorable mention in a group exhibition. Um, so they really hold a special place, and it's one of my favorite digital works that I've done. Lately, I've been doing a lot of film work, but this technique and keeping that mystery behind it is um, something I really enjoy.
Okay, if anybody isn't aware, um, you as a graduate student at Post had a couple of exhibitions, correct?
Right.
Right. So along the line, one of your exhibitions was Duality, right? And then
Right.
you wanted to share with us the culminating exhibition. Did you have any others in between?
I had multiple exhibitions, and we had the opportunity of doing a lot of group shows together, but this was one of the solo shows. And then I was also part of Chief, which was my solo show last year, and then it formulated into my thesis work as well. It's a larger developing body of work that I think I'll be doing for the rest of my life.
Okay, so the one show led into the thesis show then.
Right.
Okay.
It's an unstoppable drive for me right now.
So tell us about it. Yeah, tell us about this work.
So Chief, it literally translates to scream in Urdu, and it's my art. It's a cry to society. Women are often regarded as symbols of beauty and grace, and we deny the horrifying and ugly realities, but it exists in nature. And I wanted to talk about the intentional infliction of distress that women endures physically and mentally. And this series helps explore those evils exist in the society. And I try to convey a sense of hope through this and give a voice to all these social norms. I've used film negatives, 35 millimeter, which I've purposely damaged in non-traditional ways by scratching them off that appear as scars on the photographic prints. I've used, the nudity, the closeness, the wails, to amplify that feeling of anger and pain.
So in this one, the lines that are in there, are those your scratches? I saw them in an earlier work.
Right. The white lines that you're seeing in this photograph especially, or the movement that is made by scratching the negative, and each negative on a film roll was treated separately. So like even with these, it's like replicating the movement of the screaming woman, or taking it off her eyes, so like the pain could be felt. So I would really love for the viewer to spend time with the photographs and experience the pain that these the women go through around the world. This is one of my favorite photographs, and this was again selected in the Pollux Awards in Spain, and I was an honorable mention for it. And along with 5 other photographs. So it is my first favorite of this one too. I've used an indoor setting to create these photographs, and I would isolate the model and to completely talk about the message that I want to give, and I give complete attention and detail to these photographs.
So it seems to me that I'm getting this feeling like you have, it's a photo, we want to hold up what our traditional idea of a photograph is a fixed image. And it's almost like there's a photograph, but then the photograph has a life after it's finished, so after the fact of the photograph, there's this whole other life that comes into these works that makes them feel like there's so much more than just what we would normally conceive of as a photograph.
Right. When I try to make photographs, I believe I try to make them as much as with my soul and heart as I make it in the camera. And I feel like this series is like it's enwrapped in beauty with emotions around it. And I think that really comes forth in it, because I'm so deeply involved as my, as myself being a woman. I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to raise voice about it. And the fleeting, the movements that are coming across, or the scratches that appear on the photographic prints, these are my feelings etched on those negatives, to express what I felt, and to connect with the woman, with, create a bond of sisterhood and a support system for them, irrespective of age. I even shot little kids, irrespective of caste, color, and creed. Um, it's not just it needs to be felt. I feel like all these photographs, they're not just to be seen. Um,
They're very powerful. They're very powerful.
um, so
So,
yeah.
okay, so that was the last one of them. So how many did you exhibit in your MFA thesis? Do you have a number, or is it just a lot?
So since we only had a specific wall space at that time, when things were being supposed to be in museum gallery, I only had 9.
Oh,
Which
right.
was,
So this was the show that was happening just as COVID hit? Was that what happened?
yes.
You were planning, did you actually get to put it on the wall?
Sadly, no. I was supposed to have my first museum show, in the Steinberg Museum, and along with other graduating artists. And I don't see it coming in near future or happening anytime soon. But we're on to new adventures. I'm glad, I worked on it. I'm still working on it. The drive's there, but everything was ready to go, supposed to be on the walls, but it didn't happen that way. Um, and I've taken this work. It's now available on Artsy. I've been part of this group called Spliced Connector and Shimart Network that's um, representing my work on Artsy, and it's up for sale as well. So I'm on to new adventures with it, I would say.
Well, that's exciting, and I think we've all had disappointments. Some of our disappointments have been greater than others, and certainly in an artist's career, to have this kind of emptiness where there should have been something, of a completeness is a sad thing. And as a young person, um, you know. It's tough. I know you've had a lot of life experiences, so this isn't, there's been some that are up in there or some that are down, and there'll be more along the way with that too. But we'll talk more about that in a second. So all of these works were done before the pandemic, right? So then you wanted to talk about the work that you were doing while the pandemic was on. Would you like to talk about that?
Sure.
While it's still on, I mean, we're still in it now. So okay, so you did a series of pandemic works here.
Right. So I would say that in March, everything started to shut down. I was working as a grad assistant at school. I lost my job. The school went online, and we didn't had a proper graduation then. So it was a virtual ceremony that we had, and I got to celebrate it with my family. I didn't get to walk, but I wore my flag stole to, to express my happiness and celebrate it fully. And but we were in quarantine since the last 3 months, and when when we started out, one of my close relatives, he was tested positive for coronavirus, and at that time, me and my family were in complete unsettling experience because they just lived like 10 minutes away from us, and we couldn't go there to be part of what they're going through as a family. And he it was a lot of emotions at once, and I wanted to express it somehow, and I didn't feel like picking up my camera. So what I did was I combined my negatives that I had scanned in before, and then I combined them with the tree series that was uh, that I traveled to Canada. I have photographed some of the trees on the way, so I combined both of those together to talk about all those feelings that I was experiencing: the frustration, the anxiousness, the depression, the sadness, all those emotions that one confused. Um, and it was a lot at once. We were hearing news every single day. Um, so I did this work. And then I was also able to show this work with another project called Quarantine Residency. And it's a group of people who are working with Istanbul Artist Residency in Tanzania as well. So I got a VR exhibition with them. And then hopefully by next year, I'm going to be having a physical show in Istanbul, Turkey, and Wuhan, China. It's all about the work that's been produced during quarantine. So that's what I made. That was my first work, body of work.
So you've been busy. So that was the one that initially addressed the sense of isolation and loneliness that people were feeling
Right.
during quarantining, right?
Right.
So but you haven't rested with that, have you? You've continued onward, right?
Well, the quench is not, you know, over yet. I'm always into making some. I work on multiple projects at once. I feel like that John Harrison actually gave me that advice to work on like multiple bodies of work at once, and I've been doing that. I work. I did that digital, manipulation, and then I started working on cameraless work for the first time. I started making these cameragrams. The ones that I'm going to start showing, they're just a card size, index card size. Um, and I started I don't know if everyone knows cameragram process, but it's a process in which you use photosensitive paper. And then you put resist on it and you develop and fix it. And I've used like expired paper from 1940s to 60s, and I've put different resists. Um,
So where do you find paper that's been expired for 50 years?
eBay has everything on it.
Oh, okay. You can buy old, worn, expired paper, photographic paper, huh?
Right.
Does it cost more because it's vintage?
Yes, it does. It does. It is quite expensive,
So
but
someone's asking, why do you use expired paper?
uh, I wanted to see what it could be done with it, and I feel like I am a person who want to challenge everything, and I want to, I have no rules in photography. I'm doing blur movements. I'm doing scratching the negative. I'm going against the set rules of photography, and then also because I wanted to see a paper that's from 40s and 50s. It has there was a different sense of time, a movement going on at that time. And right now, would that paper react? Did it change over time? How would it endure all those resists? So a new paper would react differently, and old paper, you know you never know how it's gonna react. I scratched the cameragrams just like how I scratch my negatives. I even wrote in mirror writing, and I um, scratched over it as well. I didn't do any representational cameragrams. I tried to do more abstract ones because I felt that would truly express the, the frustration that I was feeling when I was making these. And
You
I
know,
would.
I'm curious. as you're doing these treatments on here, would it be possible to expose these as you would ordinary paper with this treatment on there already? Is that a possibility? You know, in all of this manipulation that you're doing on these, could you as well expose and so these are not negatives, these are paper, right?
These are paper.
Right. So if you had a negative and you flashed light through it while you were doing this, could you get some ghost imagery in there? I don't know. Just something to think about.
Well,
We'll
really,
talk about it later.
well, something really to think about. I need to do some research on it.
Yeah, so,
But
well, these are developed like a regular print then, right? Through the emulsion and
right.
right.
So when
Right.
quarantine happened, I didn't have access to my studio. So when you don't have things, you have to make them on your own. So I bought a scanner, I bought all the chemicals, and I made a dark room in my own house. And I smell like chemicals all day now.
That's
And
the old way. In all the old representations of a photographer, they use their bathroom as their dark room.
that's what I'm doing.
Well, that's why you're using the paper from the 40s and 50s and 60s, because that's the way they did it back
I'm an old soul.
then. You don't feel too old on me. Don't worry about it. So that's great. Yeah, so that, you know, that's interesting. So they're getting bigger. You started with the smaller ones, and you're
Right.
getting bigger.
I,
They have a sense of being essentially a painting at this point. You know, they're
right. I some of the people that looked at this work also said that they have a lot of like expressionistic um, feel to it, and if I was looking at Jackson Pollock at that time when I made, but I when I made these, they had no white marks on it. The white marks, whatever you see on it, they are these scratches that I've done on the photographic paper, and this is not normal. Not everybody scratches their
no.
paper, and I've been doing so.
So when you do these, you don't see any of this imagery until you go back into the emulsion and whatever you do to the paper. What's it called?
It's a photographic paper, so I've used. So what I would usually do is I would put a resist. It could be either honey, cream, you know, anything that's sticky. I've used egg. I've used anything you say, and I've put on it. And then I would leave it for a while, most likely till the feeling's gone, what I've been experiencing, and then I would put it in. You know, I would mix it up between developer and fixer, and if I'm still not happy with the image, I'll go back and I'll scratch the parts that I don't like, or you know, I feel like it's incomplete. I can see it at that time, so I can stop when I want to. Um, like in this one, I've put like milk and juice and lemon, like all these different things in my kitchen. So, but I've been responsible. I've been responsible. I understand grocery is hard. And these are like unusual colors that I've been, you know, getting. It's been a unique experience.
So the color is coming onto those. You know, if it's a black and white process, why would there be color?
Right. This is how old paper react, and
Okay.
yeah.
Something
And
hidden in the chemistry of the paper is
right.
okay.
Um, I also added a few lumen prints that I was working on. So lumen prints is when you expose the same photographic paper with, you know, objects or resist on it in direct sunlight. And again, I've gone against the rules and I've not fixed these prints. These are unfixed, so that's why they're purple and purplish in color, pinkish purple. Otherwise, usually they're more brownish copper tones. This one is much darker than the usual one because I've used rain as a component as well. So it's like a wet lumen
So,
print.
so if it's unfixed, does that
Right.
mean it's going to change over time
Yes.
and it'll
This
eventually turn to
black.
all black?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
So
that presents another issue. Um, could you fix it at any point during the process and then decide that this is where you want it to end after 3 days, 5 days, 6 hours? I don't know how long it takes to turn black.
I don't think so. If I decide to, I don't know.
Well,
I
that's
haven't
Allison.
tried it myself, but I think it would turn black all at once because it's been continuously exposed to light.
Hmm.
That's why. Yeah.
Um, so there's some way along the line, go back to the last one, I'm not done with that. Some way along the line when you do this, right, and it's going to eventually disappear, we
Right.
don't know how long it's going to take,
Right.
right? Um,
It, it it depends on how much light it's getting. I've kept
right,
it in
right,
dark right now.
right. So anyway, you have this and you have an image of it, right? Which we're seeing now, which is fixed in time, right? So one possibility is letting the process go on and fixing it with another digital photograph like you've just done here, right?
Right.
And then that could be the final image. But you could
Right.
also do time lapse
Hmm.
and turn this into a video process as well too. Okay, from
Right.
Carolyn. Carolyn tells us you can fix any time but not develop. Okay, so the developing process is the one that's going to turn it black, but the fixing process won't. The fix will remove color from Allison. Oh, thank you all. It will take a long time as long as it is not developed. It will take a long time. Is that to remove the color? These are processes that the people like me who are not photographic experts or this might be a discussion for you guys
Right.
somewhere else.
Left like unfixed,
Hmm.
and it will take years to go completely black if we don't decide to put it in the fixer. So
It will take a long time to get completely black,
right.
says Allison. Okay, so it could be a long time, could be years, months.
Years.
We don't quite know, but it's an interesting thing. It's you know, well,
I
even the Sistine Chapel was getting black, from all the soot. So things change over time as much as we don't want them to. This is just a more conscious process. Okay, so you had something else to show us?
uh, well, Caroline and I are really good friends, and we have like Friday nights together making art, and I
Oh,
really missed her during quarantine, so we did a collaboration project. Um, when we went into, first phase, we went to a park and we decided to do some collaborative art, and I have some of the scans which I would like to share. So we worked on some cyanotypes. So it's the same cyanotype but front and back, and I loved how it had differently reacted because it was a rice paper, so you can really see both sides of it.
so for anybody who is not aware, like the
Oh yeah,
cyanotype is putting the chemicals that are going to develop directly on a piece of paper. Is that it?
right. That's how it is. So you put the chemicals on the paper in complete darkness, and then when you expose it, you put the objects, and as the sunlight hits it, it's going to get developed. And the color depends upon how much time it's left to develop for. Um, I've not
Right.
washed these. Um, these are the colors like it was when when we were done with it. And I liked it as it is, so I didn't wash these. But Carol and I both enjoyed. It was a nice little break. We made 26 prints in 3 hours, I guess, but it was a great experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I kept the dirt on it as well. I felt like it had its own place, and it looked like otherworldly to me.
So I opened up Carolyn, if you want to contribute here, since you're being talked about. I felt like you might want to say something about these too. So when we were looking at the two sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
The earlier ones that you showed us two sides, right?
Right.
Like we're thinking about this paper as being translucent in some
Right.
way,
Right.
and that like some more or less of the developing process is going on either side of the paper by the saturation of the light and color. Interesting. Interesting. Very good.
It's a very thin paper. It's a rice paper, so you could really develop both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Like interesting to see how they both react differently.
Very good. Very good. So I'm curious, like, it's been like you finished your MFA work and that was so like, powerful in its figuration.
Mm-hmm.
And, you had that really strong message that was coming through those works, right? And now, like you said, you're doing these other things. Do you see these pieces as now going back and informing what you've done with the MFA thesis?
So it's definitely not something that I always do. It's an experimentation work that I've been indulged in due to the circumstances I've been put in because of the whole situation. Um, but I've enjoyed it because I've tried to maintain some of the components that were part of my chief process as well. If I had, you know, um, scratches on the negative, I've tried to keep those scratches on the photographic prints. If I wanted to express my feelings, I let those feelings be expressed through, camera-less work as well, because I felt it may not have the same meaning because that was woman work. It was for women, made by me, and this is probably a reaction to my quarantine. It's been 4 months, and it's hard. uh, I've almost forgotten to walk in sun now. Uh,
The trees back, you want to go take a walk in the arboretum, you can do that. You'll feel good
right.
going out to a place like that.
So I really miss nature, and that's why I feel like I'm trying to, create something that is close to nature. Maybe that's one of the reasons I didn't want to take off the dirt, because it feels like home to me, the Mother Earth. So.
It's part of it. Yeah. Well, very good. Thank you so much. Vivid evocations, there's more. What do you have here? What's
Um,
that?
I don't know if we even have time, but these are some of the new photographs. I finally started picking up my camera and taking photographs again. But these are like memories, or I would say moments from my subconscious mind that I've photographed. So it's taken in digital camera. And then I missed my film camera and film development process a lot. So I looked up in my camera, there's a creative filter. So I started manipulating in the camera with the black and white filter and created these blur, souvenirs, I would say. Uh, which has some figural work. Um,
Yeah, there are ghost images in these. You can just make out the fact that there's figures, but
right,
they're very vague.
right. It's still developing process. I don't know where it's going to take me. Maybe this title is temporary right now, but
I don't know whether vivid is the word that describes these. Go ahead, tell us what's happening.
well, they're vivid in my mind.
Okay.
So
It'll
yeah,
create a little bit of attention in looking at them when they're shown.
so yeah, this is my quarantine work. So yeah,
Okay, so this has been very successful. I thank everybody for coming. Mahnoor, I thank you for talking um, and sharing with us. And it's been so successful that I have been asked to ask you whether you would be interested in sometime having a pop-up show of your work at our gallery. So
definitely.
that's
I would.
something that's something that uh, the the Deus Machina uh, sent down to me from above. And so we'll talk about that. When we leave here, and we'll see about um, the Patchogue Arts Council in Mocha leaves about 4 different spaces during the year for a pop-up, which would be a weekend-long show. We'll see what we can do about that.
That would be
Okay,
great. Thank you.
getting those works that didn't make it into the museum, the Steinberg Museum, we'll see if they can have another spot. Well, thank you, Mahnoor. That was
Thank you
great.
so
I
much.
just Okay. Um, I'd like to just let everybody know next week we're going to talk about the abstract expressionist movement. I'll be telling you, just like some of the last works that we looked at, they were very expressionistic. We're going to talk about how abstract expressionism developed and some of the different people who worked in that movement. Um, and then I'm very excited. I just booked my next conversation, and we'll be talking with Dr. Catherine Coe in 2 weeks. So that should be fun. She's a really fascinating person. For all of you who are here to support your friend Mahnoor, come back and see what Dr. Catherine Coe does as well too. Okay, thank you. I hope to see you again in real life. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. I would love to. Thank you so much
Okay.
for coming in.
Okay. Be well, everybody who's on Zoom, and be well, everybody who's on Facebook. Everybody stay strong and be healthy. Thank you, everybody. Have a great afternoon.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Okay.